Up next on Bulldog Blitz, Samford is headed to the NCAA tournament. Hear who the Bulldogs drew in their first matchup.
And it was a victory for the Bulldogs on homecoming, but hear why it was the coach who received the game ball and not a player this week.
And Buckyball begins. Hear how the men's and women's teams did in their home opener. Bulldog Blitz starts right now. Welcome to Bulldog Blitz. I'm Jacob Taylor.
And I'm Allie Hayduck. Thank you for joining us. It has been a huge week for the Bulldogs between a football homecoming victory and the women's soccer team winning the SoCon title. We have a lot of news to get to today.
To give us the details on the Lady Bulldogs SoCon victory and their NCAA bid, we're joined by Bulldog Blitz's Anna Hope Brigham.
Thanks, Jacob. It's another SoCon title for the women's soccer team, and now they're headed to the big dance. Samford women's soccer fought hard in the last playoff game of the SoCon tournament Sunday against UNCG. There was a big turnout for the championship game since it was homecoming weekend. Both Samford and UNCG finished regulation play with 0 points, which led them into not one but two overtimes. No one scored in those overtimes, so the teams did penalty kicks. Samford goalkeeper Emma Donnelly blocked a 9th-round penalty kick from UNCG, which put the Dogs ahead 6-5 for the final score. Thanks to the title win, the Bulldogs earned an NCAA tournament bid. Samford will face Georgia in the first round. We've just learned that this game will be Friday at 5. Back to you, Jacob and Allie.
This will be the Bulldogs' 7th trip to the NCAA tournament.
Congratulations to the Lady Bulldogs. For all the latest coverage on the tournament, be sure to tune on to Bulldog Blitz next week.
Homecoming this year was a year to remember for head coach Chris Hatcher.
The Bulldogs' victory made Coach Hatcher the winningest coach in Samford football history. Coach Hatcher surpassed Pat Sullivan with 48 wins. Hatcher has been with the Bulldogs for 8 seasons now with a record of 161-93. Hatcher has been consistently among the Southern Conference and FCS leaders in several categories.
Hatcher's record-breaking game was thanks in part to the Bulldogs' victory against VMI Saturday. The Bulldogs beat the Keydets by a score of 35-15. Samford extends their win streak to 7 games, losing only to the Georgia Bulldogs earlier this season. The Bulldogs are now ranked 9th in the FCS football standings and 1st in the SoCon. This is the first time in program history that the Bulldogs are 6-0 in conference. Samford's Chandler Smith led the receivers this week with 10 catches for 134 yards with a pair of touchdowns.
Samford quarterback Michael Hires was named SoCon Offensive Player of the Week. Hires says despite the current success, he wants to keep working to push the team even further.
To continue like the success that we've had, I think we just need to keep building off each week. And you can always nitpick things and get better at certain things, but I think it's important for us to keep being to be successful, to just be more consistent overall. I think that we show flashes of being really good and flashes of being really bad, and just the more we can eliminate that and be consistent throughout the entire game, we'll just keep getting better and better.
The Bulldogs are on the road this weekend to Chattanooga to take on the 11th-ranked Mocs.
The Bulldogs took to the basketball court for their first homestand of the season. Samford's men's basketball team began their season against the Anderson University Ravens. The men won 109-85. The Dogs began with a 4-0 run, with Jermaine Marshall going 4-4 on free throws. The Ravens were then playing catch-up. But Samford never gave up the lead. The Dogs went into the half ahead 56-34 and only increased their lead during the second half. The Dogs let the clock run out with 27 seconds left in the game. Junior forward Jermaine Marshall led the team in points with 19. Junior guard Quez Glover led the team in field goals with 7 total. The Dogs will face off against the Spring Hill College Badgers on Thursday at home. Prior to the men's game, the women's game had their season opener too. The Dogs fell to Troy 66-62 after a hard-fought battle. The Dogs started off strong with a 7-0 run, but fell behind before the end of the first quarter. They came back to the end of the first half 23-25 over the Trojans. It was a neck-and-neck throughout the third quarter, with the Dogs down 45-40. The Bulldogs pulled ahead of the Trojans with 35 seconds left, with a score of 59-58, but were defeated in the end 66-62. Senior guard Andrea Cornoya led the team in scoring with 25 points. The Bulldogs will be back in action on Thursday in Nashville as they face off against the Vanderbilt Commodores.
Men's and women's basketball teams held a fan fest for Samford fans this past Thursday to say thank you for all of their support. As fans arrived, DJ Skip O got them onto a celebrating mood to kick off the upcoming season. Both the men's and women's teams passed out t-shirts, prizes, and food. Gifts such as $100 and a Yeti cooler were given out to Samford parents, alumni, and students. Coach Bucky of the men's team spoke to the fans, encouraging them to show up to as many games as possible to where Samford read. Junior Charlie Morrison says that he and the team are ready to give the season and the fans all they can on court.
I mean, we're going to give like 100% of ourselves 100% of the time, and it's not just for us or for the school, it's for you guys too.
The basketball team hopes to have more events like this, one in the future, to continue to show their appreciation for the fans. Coming up next on Bulldog Blitz, Samford Volleyball celebrates 50 years of Title IX. Find out what it means to them after the break.
And Samford's Rec Center is working on a new look. Find out when renovations are set to begin. We'll be right back. Samford football celebrated both homecoming and 50 years of Title IX during Saturday's game.
The Lady Bulldogs volleyball team also held their Title IX game this week. Title IX is the federal civil rights law that prohibits sex-based discrimination in any school that receives federal funding. Title IX in sports requires schools to reward male and female athletes equally. The law ensures that prevention of discrimination when it comes to facilities, equipment, and other support provided to athletic programs. The redshirt sophomore, Kate Juanes, says that Title IX has positively impacted her and her family's life.
As a female athlete, Title IX has allowed me to play the sport that I love in college. It also allowed my mom to play softball and volleyball at North Alabama, so Title IX has meant a lot to our family.
Tuning now to the game action, the Bulldogs racked off 2 straight wins. The emotions were high in both games as the 2 matches were Lauren Deaton's last home games in the Samford uniform. However, the Bulldogs were still dominant as they defeated Furman 3-1 and the Citadel 3-0. Gracie Lynn Butler started off against Samford against Furman as she notched a double-double with 12 kills and 11 digs. Against the Citadel, Kenya McCorder and Kate Juanes both had 9 kills with 2 wins. Samford moves to 15-11 overall. Good for the second in the SoCon, with tournament play soon approaching. Samford will next face off against Mercer this Wednesday and Wofford this Friday, with both games on the road.
Samford men's tennis closed out their fall season this past weekend after hosting the BCC Collegiate Invite. The Bulldogs competed against players from Louisiana State University, the University of Alabama, Tulane, and several others. Samford's Dali Bellaluna reached the finals of the Crimson Singles Draw. He earned a record of 3 wins and 1 loss for the weekend. Men's tennis coach Oliver Reynolds says the weekend showed how the team has improved.
This weekend, as I sort of told the guys yesterday, I mean, I felt like we had made a huge improvement from our first couple tournaments where we seem to have, struggled in a couple areas. We've felt like we've spoken about a lot of things this fall, and this was, for me, I felt like the most improvement we've seen in certain areas. So there was a lot of positives to take away from the past 3 days.
Men's tennis starts preseason preparation on court. Bulldog Matthew Gooch says the team will move into 8-hour weeks and focusing more on fitness to prepare for the spring season.
Now we move into our 8-hour weeks, so we'll be working more individual stuff a couple days a week, and a lot of us are going to try and do some extra work, and I think put a lot more work in the gym. I've talked to a few of our guys and just try and build some muscle when we really don't get to during the season, and just try and stay after it.
The Bulldogs spring season begins against the University of Alabama in January.
Intramural volleyball began yesterday and will run through November 22nd. Men's, women's, and co-ed teams are all open to all interested. Sign-ups will stay open throughout the season. Payment to participate is $30 per team. For more information and sign-up instructions, visit intramuralleagues.com and search for Samford University. Plans for Samford's new state-of-the-art recreation complex are underway.
Preview images of the largest capital project in the university's history were released Friday. Seibert Hall will undergo extensive renovations to accommodate for large student recreation spaces. Bashinsky Fieldhouse will be refurbished to include dedicated practice spaces for the basketball and volleyball programs. A third building will also be constructed next to the Seibert Hall with a suspended track and covered balcony, overlooking Bobby Bowden Field. Construction is scheduled to begin in early 2023. That's all the time we have left for Bulldog Blitz. Join us again next week for our latest episode.
In the meantime, get all your latest Bulldog Blitz news online at thesamfordcrimson.com or on Instagram at SNNSamford.
Have a great day, and we'll see you back here next week for another episode of Bulldog Blitz.